So I decided the best thing at this point was to downshift 2 gears, open the valves, and hoon past this guy. I'm completely convinced that Florida is the greatest state to do anything car related in. Everywhere else in the world, you do something, something happens. If you get a speeding ticket or a photo ticket on your license plates in Germany, you're going to receive a violation in the mail. If you run a red light, you're going to receive a violation in the mail. But in the US, it seems like it's completely up to the officer's discretion, whether you go to jail or you get a small ticket and you're set on your way. In Florida, it really seems that the rules are just quite different. One day I happened to be driving on I-75 south from the Sawgrass Mall. I was coming back to my hotel, which was in downtown Miami. And I was going along in our E92 M3 safety car that has the full sticker set, the lights and sirens, and it runs our full exhaust system. So it's pretty aggressive. And I was going along at probably 80 or 85, a reasonable speed for on I-75 where the average speed seems like it's about 100. And I'm going along, windows are down, it's a beautiful day out, and everything is good. And on I-75, it is arrow straight, and it's 4 lanes in either direction. So I'm going along, and I'm not in a group of cars. I'm by myself, and there's probably 300 yards ahead of me, there's a group of cars. And then maybe a quarter mile back, there's another group of cars. And in my rearview mirror, I happen to spot a black Ford Fusion that dips out of traffic from the center lane into the left pretty aggressively. So that caught my eye. And he starts creeping up, and I didn't change my speed. I was in the left and I pull over into the center and I let him go by. And he probably passes me at about 95 or so. So I figured, well, this guy's running. I'll just slip in right behind him. So I pull in right behind him and we catch the group of cars that was in front of us. And this guy starts cutting up through traffic. Nothing violently dangerous, but he, goes all the way to the right, passes a couple cars, goes to the center, goes back to the right, and he's definitely trying to make pretty good time. As he's going along, I'm able to stay with him and not make any real drastic maneuvers. So I stay with him. He moves into the right and then goes back to the far left, and I stay in the center. And so in my head, I'm thinking, well, this guy's, driving pretty quickly through traffic. Maybe he's an enthusiast. It's a black Ford Fusion with all the windows tinted. So I decided the best thing at this point was to downshift 2 gears, open the valves, and hoon past this guy at probably 130 or 135. And as I pass him, I wave out the window and I shift from 4th to 5th, which in that car, if you do it quick enough, it'll spit a hot blue flame out of all 4 exhausts. So I go by him, shift into 5th, and I stay a little bit, and then I shift into 6th. And I'm just beginning to get on the brakes, and I glance in my mirror, and this guy turns some lights on. My heart just sank, just to the depths of my existence. I was like, how can I be so stupid? So the guy pulls in right behind me, and we're in this group of cars now that we had since caught. So we move over lane by lane, and ultimately end up on the shoulder. So I'm sitting there on the shoulder. I have the car on. I'm sitting, all the windows are down and it's light out. It's probably 5 o'clock. So it's easy for him to see in the car. And I'm sitting there and I'm just shaking because I'm like, either I'm going to go to jail. I'm going to have to call my friends to come and bail me out. Like, what am I going to get charged with? Very nervous at this point. So we stop and the officer, right as we stop, throws his car in park and flings the door open. And I'm like, oh man, this is not good. So after he opens the door, he gets out way more casually than I ever thought he would. Super casual, doesn't touch the back of my car like most officers do. And he walks up to the window and utters the most amazing line that I've ever heard come out of a police officer's mouth. I'm sitting there in the car. He walks up to the window, looks at the back of the car, looks around, and then looks at me and goes, "You good, dog?" And I'm sitting there like holding the steering wheel. I kind of glance at him like, yeah, like, I'm good. Are you good? He says, yeah, man, I'm great. I'm just trying to figure out why you're driving so fast. At that point, I tried to relax a little bit and convey what I was feeling to him. And I said, listen, man, I'm sorry. I thought that you were maybe a fellow enthusiast because you were kind of cutting up through cars. Normally, when I see people, they'll wave out the window and they want to hear the car. So I thought that you maybe were an enthusiast and wanted me to do the same. And he looks around and goes, what? A fellow enthusiast in a Ford Fusion? And I said, yeah, I mean, that's what was going through my head. And so he looks around at the car a little bit more and says, where are your license plates? And at this point, I had just come back from a photo shoot and I forgot to attach my license plates to the back of the car. And he goes, you know, you got to have license plates on the car to drive it around legally. And I said, yes, I'm very sorry. We were at a photo shoot. I can put them on right now if you like. And he said, that sounds like a great idea. You have the license plates with you? And I said, yes, I do. They are just behind the passenger seat. He said, why don't you grab your plates and put them on for me? I don't want you to receive a ticket. In my head, I'm like, this encounter is going far better. This guy's worried about me getting a citation. How nice. So I grabbed my toolkit, which is in the trunk, and I let him know. I said, hey, I'm going to open the trunk. You know, I've got no weapons or anything. Just my toolkit is on the right side. I'm going to open the trunk. Is that okay with you? And he said, yeah, that's fine. So I grabbed my tags and the toolkit and closed the trunk and grabbed the bolts. And my plates from Massachusetts, they're Protect and Serve, State Police Association of Massachusetts tags. So I fastened the tag to the back of the car. He looks at the tag and goes, wow, you support law enforcement? And I said, absolutely. You know, I'm a State Police Association of Massachusetts member. I'm also a member of the 100 Club. And I'm also a donator of the Cannonball Memorial Run to support the families of fallen officers who, you know, give everything for us and they ask nothing in return. As I'm saying this, I hear another state trooper car go by in the other direction with lights and sirens on. So at that point, I'm like, oh no, is he calling another car? Is there going to be a tow truck that's going to come? And I hear him after I relay that that I support law enforcement. He goes on the radio and says, we're all good here. I hear the mic click. And I'm at this point, I'm fastening the tag to the back of the car. And he kind of looks around a little bit more and sees that I got the tag in the back of the car and says, I'm very, very glad that you support law enforcement. The officer gives me a fist bump and says, you be safe, use the shoulder to get back up to speed, and maybe don't drive like that in the future. Walks back to his car, drives away. And I'm still standing there on the side of the road with my toolbox in hand. And I am just completely taken back. Like, there is no way that I just went from completely an arrestable offense to having this guy say, well, I'm glad you support law enforcement. Have yourself a nice day. So at the end of that situation, I just was like, what am I meant to do with this information now? Because I have no tags. Maybe I can use that as a method in the future for hopefully avoiding some other bad tickets. But the unfortunate piece of this was I had my dash camera in the car. It recorded the video, didn't record the audio. And I was gutted. I'm looking at the camera being like, why wasn't the audio turned on? So unfortunately, I didn't get that on dash cam, but I'm here to tell the story today, so.
Shopping for insurance can be an absolute nightmare, but it doesn't have to be thanks to Policy Genius. They're our sponsor for this month at VINwiki, and you can visit them at the link in the description below. You tell them a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your property, and they find the best deal by shopping amongst all the major carriers at the same time. In fact, you can bundle things like homeowners insurance and auto insurance, and the average user that bundles both of those things saves about $1,100 a year. So be sure to check them out and thank them for their support of VINwiki.